Welcome to the very first episode of a new segment on my channel called Mystic Voices. Mystic Voices brings you leading spiritual teachers from all over the world to talk about their spiritual work through their enlightenment journey and to add eye-opening dimensions to your spiritual path. Today I'm very excited because my very first guest is a renowned psychic medium and spiritual teacher from Canada, Carolyn Molnar. Carolyn has 40 years of experience in mediumship. She also coaches and teaches psychic development through her much sought after workshops. Carolyn has also published 3 books. It is Time, Knowledge from the Other Side, Compassionate Messenger, True Stories from a Psychic Medium, and this one was co-written with her husband Benjamin Gleiser, a journalist who is also gifted with mediumship abilities. I think that's incredible. And her latest book is What? You're a Medium? Without further ado, let's get right to it. Here's Mystic Voices with Carolyn Molnar. Hello everyone, and today we have a very special guest. As I said at the intro, I'm very excited that she's here today, and she is renowned, world-renowned psychic medium from Canada, Carolyn Molnar. Welcome, Carolyn. Thank you for being here.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm so pleased to be here. Thank you.
I'm so excited because we started chatting a little bit before starting recording this video, and we're very much on the same page when it comes to why we put ourselves out there on YouTube and just generally we put ourselves out there on social media as well. And I mean, you've been doing this a lot longer than I have. You've been doing this for 40 years, which is amazing. So there's a lot that I can learn from you for sure. And everyone who's watching. Also, and we were just discussing that how things have changed and how things are shifting and how people like us are able now to come out and talk openly about spiritual topics that up until recently were taboo. And we couldn't because we were seen as witches, or we were seen that this was completely satanic, or that, you know, this is woo-woo and this is completely baloney. But now things have changed. And I also feel, and Carolyn, I would love to hear your take on it. I also feel that 2020 really helped people be more in touch with their spiritual core.
Yes, the pandemic has made us look inward. So there's more self-awareness or more opportunity to become more self-aware because we've got the time. We're not socializing with people, at least in Canada, everything's locked down. So we can't go out to the restaurants or anything like that. I mean, going for groceries is a big deal at this point. So there's a lot of home time, downtime, and some of us are doing very well in you know, getting to know ourselves, and other people are having a really hard time of it.
That's absolutely true. And I wanted to ask you as well, do you find that 2020 or the pandemic in general helped people want to develop their psychic abilities? Have you found that?
Yes, I get a lot of emails and direct messages from people that have found me, and a lot of their questions are about what's going on, what is this about, why am I seeing this? And I've just started 3 classes, and they're all full, 2 psychic development classes and a mediumship class. And I'll tell you, this was the first year it was the easiest to just fill them so quickly. It was people are hungry, they want to understand what is going on, because we are spiritual beings having a human experience. It's just we've been so busy doing. Now we are human beings that we want an explanation as to our nature. Why is this happening to us? It's because you have more time to notice. That's what's going on.
Absolutely. And what I keep telling people is that we're all psychic. And you say this as well on your channel and everywhere in your books as well. We're all psychic. And psychic actually comes from the Greek word, psyche in Greek, which means soul. So we all have a soul, therefore we're all psychic. We are all able to tap in,
Yeah.
tap in.
It is so natural that we don't recognize it. For example, mothers who are in tune with their children and need to call them for whatever reason, they have no logical explanation. That is being psychic. That's being intuitive. I have a family member who's really good with the stock market and she picks the right things. How come? Because she's psychic about these kinds of things. So, there are a lot of applications that we just naturally do and do not chalk it up to our psychic nature.
So true. And the other thing I feel that people do is that because we've got the ego as well. I mean, the first thing that we do, the first thing that gets more, let's say, affected is the ego, right? So we allow the ego to go in the front, and intuition kind of gets lost behind the ego. And that's why people say, yeah, but I mean, my right brain says one thing, but my gut and my heart says another thing. What do I do?
Well, here's the thing. The ego tries to keep us safe. We are a left brain society, rules and regulations and logic. Psychic abilities, intuition, it's right brained. And we cannot use logic to explain it. It just is. It's faith. It's belief. So that's the problem with ego. You can't get rid of it. It's part of the condition of being a human. But we can say, okay, just hold on here, ego. I'm setting you aside so that I can have a full-on psychic intuitive experience. That's what we have to do. It's a constant struggle back and forth.
Absolutely. Which leads me to my next question, which I'm sure everyone asks you, because I get that question too. But when you realize that you are a psychic medium and that you have these amazing abilities, not only how did you realize, but how were you able to distinguish between what was a message coming from the other side and what was, let's say, your thoughts or your common sense?
I'm chuckling because I was putting my curriculum together, and this is one of the things we talk about in class. They are the intuitive messages are usually thought impressions. They just kind of float into your mind with no train of thought. They're clear, they're concise, and they're uplifting. They help. They don't hinder. So that's how it feels. They're out of the blue and you weren't expecting it. And, and they are just so right for the moment. And they're usually coming from your guides and angels, not from your dead people. Because you really want to hear from your guides and angels. They're better equipped to answer your concerns or keep you on the right track because they've been assigned to you to help you. So they will.
That's true. Now, the other important question for anyone who is already psychic and they're just starting off or who are highly intuitive is, and this was something that I struggled with when I was younger, how do you switch it on and off?
Okay, that is very, very important. And what I basically say is, if I'm not working, don't bug me. Basically,
yeah, exactly.
I'm a Taurus. I'm very earthy, and it's like I believe in being grounded and no language about it. And if they bring stuff in, I'll say no, not now, no. And what you do is you teach them how to work with you. So you have to be very clear. It used to be that I would get messages for strangers in a grocery store. And I got to the point where I said, I don't want to hold on to this stuff. I can't deliver it. So stop. Don't do this. Unless you give me an opening that it works for the person I'm going to talk to. I am not going to psychically assault people because I've got something from you. Usually that happens from spirit people because they see your light. They say, oh, she can hear us. Yay. So they come and they give you messages. And then it's like, okay, what do I do with this? It's like, I don't want to impinge on other people. So basically I just say, don't talk to me if I'm not working. That's how I do
boundaries. Set your
very much. Boundaries and psychic protection as well. there's a book that I always recommend to my students, and I think I'd be a millionaire if I got a nickel for every recommendation, but it's called Psychic Protection by William Bloom.
Oh yeah, I know that book.
Do you? Hold on a second. It's right with my reference material.
Oh,
because I get a lot of people. I know I'm supposed to be talking about my book, but this is a good book.
We'll get to your book as
yeah,
well.
No worries. Just teasing. But there are people that get in touch with me asking, what do I do? How do I take care of myself? So I do this. There it is.
It's a very good book. You're absolutely right. I should be recommending that as well when they ask me.
Yeah, it was published in the 90s, so you're not going to find it on bookshelves. You'll have to order it.
I think you can find it on Kindle, though. I think yes. I'm pretty
okay,
sure.
So I'm just going to give a little preview here. The reason why I like it so much, let me just show you. Very simple pictures, very simple writing, that it's not some esoteric mumbo jumbo. You can understand this book. So yes. And there are a lot of people that are being impinged by their spiritual growth at this time, because it is the age of Aquarius. Things are opening up. The pandemic has made us sit still, and things happen. We need to learn how to have boundaries around it, for sure.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And that's something that I'm still struggling with sometimes, because when I normally do readings and deceased loved ones come through, then they won't go. They won't leave after the reading. So it's like I have to be very stern with them, sort of like, go now. You're not welcome here unless I ask you to come forward.
Exactly. Well, I have a little ritual. When I snuff out the candle, because spirit sees candle better than they can see incandescent lights, that's the message for my guides to say, clear out, everybody.
That's what I do. I have the candle. I switch, I light the candle, and that's me opening up and ready for the reading. And then when I put it out, I normally say, I now close this circle and this session, and it's done. But sometimes they linger. I'm sure you get that too. Like when they linger.
I do not. I have to say, I do not anymore. I have to say, I've been really adamant about it. The other thing I do is I protect myself. This is the stone that I wear when I'm working. It's called a zebra jasper.
Oh, they're not easy to find.
No,
they're very hard to find.
Yeah, and this sits right at my heart chakra when I wear it. So that's the other thing too. When I take the necklace off, when I snuff the candle, that's it, people. We're done.
It's done. It's really interesting you mentioned the Age of Aquarius, because that's another thing that I would like to talk about, because I talk about it all the time, maybe because I'm an Aquarius as well. So yes, so now it starts. Oh God, I don't know what to expect. But the Age of so a lot of people, there's a lot of contradiction about the Age of Aquarius. When did it start? What is it about? What does it mean? What does it mean for humanity, for the collective? I would love to hear your side.
Okay, so I will preface this by saying I'm not an astrologer. Mm-hmm. This is what I've been taught. It actually started in the 50s, 1950. It takes about 100 years for it to transfer to 2050. I don't think I'm going to be around then. But I'll help it move through to the 2050s with the beatniks. That's when it started. Okay. And then it takes 100 years. And the 2000 was the end of the last era, which was the Piscean era, which is an era of war. And now the Age of Aquarius, if you listen to the song from Hair, gives you an idea of where we're going into. It's enlightenment. It's spirituality, it's all that. And, there'll be some people kicking and screaming all the way to their enlightenment, and others will just walk the path gladly. It just depends on where you are in the scheme of things.
I agree. And I also feel, or hope at least, that spirituality is not going to be something that people discover after their the passing of a loved one. I hope that spirituality comes in people's lives sooner, because usually people are more in touch with spirituality and with the other world and spirits when they lose someone, when someone they love has passed on, and by that point it's too
I
late.
would agree with that. Yes, and I'll take them any way I can get them. Quite frankly, I'm sorry if it takes a loved one for them to open up, but I'm there for them. So just to provide hope where there's despair, and understand that there is life after this life. It really helps a lot of people and makes them think and makes them kind of reevaluate. It's their journey. They'll figure it out for themselves, but at least there's a starting point. And I also tell people what to watch for. Like I've got several YouTube videos where it's signs from spirit, because spirit tries very hard to say, hello, I'm here. And it's so subtle that we don't get it. So that will also encourage them to work with their spirituality, to be in touch with the ones that they loved and lost.
I agree. And that's another thing that we should talk about a little bit. The messages from loved ones, because people always ask, they confuse a little bit the messages that they get from angels, the feathers, the synchronicities, etc., and don't realize that our loved ones communicate with us in a very different way. I tell people that usually the first place that you're going to find your loved one is in your dreams, because that's the easiest way for them to communicate. But do you want to expand on this a little bit more?
Sure. Well, yes, I agree with you that they start in the dreams. However, there is a fear with spirit to stay with the dream state because we may forget. And as they evolve in the other world, they are more capable of communicating with us when we're in the conscious state. So there might be, something, fingers running through our hair, or goosebumps up the back of us. That's a spirit hug. Or you might find a dime on the floor, that's a 10-cent piece in Canada, when you've just vacuumed, or you hear a song in your head that goes over and over and over again. You think that's their favorite song. What is this?
Right.
That's all of them, spirit people, trying to communicate. They're, in the 40 years that I've done this work, I think maybe once or twice I've seen a full-on apparition. It's too much work for them. They don't like it. So they'll try other ways to influence your thoughts. And it's always uplifting. It's not mean. It's not vindictive. It's more like, I'm with you. One of the big questions a lot of my clients ask are, do they miss me? And I say no, because they're standing right here and they're looking at you. You miss them more than they will miss you, because their life is still continuing with you, but not with the meat suit, not with this stuff.
I agree with you. So absolutely.
I like to take something that's so esoteric and mystical and mysterious and just bring it down to brass tacks and say, look, you got a soul. It survives. This is what it's like,
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Now, the next question is, and this is a personal question. It comes from me. You know how therapists go to therapists? Psychics and mediums go to psychics and mediums. I tell this to my clients as well. I tell this to people, and there's a reason for that. And me personally, for instance, my grandfather passed on last year, and I was unable, because he's in Mauritius. That's where I come from. And I wasn't able, I wasn't able to be there. I wasn't even able to be there for his funeral. And I was hoping that we would be able to connect after his passing. Nothing. Carolyn, nothing. I've been asking him, I've been saying, come on, come forward. I'm ready. Let's have a discussion, please. I can feel you, everything. This is what I do. Nothing. Can you explain that for me, please?
Well, first of all, are there times where you're doing something like washing dishes or something just so mundane and routine, and he just pops into your head?
Oh, yeah.
That's him talking to you. He is in touch with you. That's how they do it. It's called telepathy. So he's not left you. It's more like this is their language now. We are telepathic beings as humans too. Like when that example of, as a mom, you just know something's up with your kid and you call them and they say, oh gosh, I was just thinking about you. I was going to call you. That's telepathy between humans, but it's much more efficient between spirit. So the best way to strengthen that bond is to say, Grandpa, I hear you. I see you. What do you have to say to me?
But it's on his terms rather than mine.
Well, yeah, to begin with, because he's showing you what he can do in order to chat with you. Now,
Right.
once you link into his way of doing things, because they're kind of limited,
Yeah.
link into that, then you'll find that thought impressions will be coming fast and furious, and you'll be asking questions, and he'll have answered it before you even finish the question. That's how fast they are. So remember, it's extremely subtle. That's the thing. We got to know what the signs are in order for us to see it.
But it's not subtle when I do readings for clients. It's in my face, like they're there. So I'm kind of hoping that it's the same energy with my grandfather, because with my grandmother was very different. I saw her, I felt her. She was sitting by my bed the night that she passed on. We had a conversation. She came in my like it was a very different thing. But with my grandfather, the energy. So maybe that's why, because with my clients, for instance, it's very intense. It's very intense.
Two things.
Please,
the personality of the spirit person also dictates how it's done.
True.
If your grandfather was a quiet person, then he's going to appear quiet now. Okay. Until you get it, then he'll get all excited. Okay. The other thing too is you do not want to be in your reading energy 24/7. You will get sick.
Yeah, I know.
It's very hard. So if you can work with your subtle energies, then your time with your grandfather will be longer and easier on your physical body.
You're right. I'm working on it generally about how this switching on and off, because I had a hard time when I was younger. It was very intense when I was in my teens. That's when I realized that all these things that I was feeling and seeing and the energies was because I was psychic. And so in my teens, it just went crazy, just boom. So at some point in my 20s, I said, no, I don't want to do this. I was in denial. And I'm sure you've heard this from a lot of people. I blocked it. I was like, nope, I'm not doing it.
Well, it's self-preservation, right?
Yeah.
And when you're in your teen years, I have to say the hormones really kind of mess up energy. So that can also be very overwhelming. I was hospitalized because of just being open all the time. And yeah, I was taken down, I'm telling you, and I was off for 6 months. I had to recuperate. Yep. So I'm very clear about what my boundaries are and when I'm working and when I'm not. As a matter of fact, there are people, I have a finite amount of time that I will give to do this work. I'm no spring chicken anymore. And so I know what I can and can't do. And invariably people will call me or email me and say, I can only see you on this time. And I'll email back and say, these are my times. I have to stick to this because I want to do this until I can't do it anymore. And if I'm going to be expending energy left, right, and center, I'm not going to be lasting very long in this.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's what I discovered as well in my 20s, mid-20s, on how to switch it on and off. And it was through tarot.
Oh, okay.
So because I started reading tarot when I was 14, I was really good at it because I'm psychic, but I didn't realize back then that I was psychic. I just thought I'm really good at it. So now what I do is, like, if I want to do a reading, it's only when I have the deck of cards in my hand and I have my little altar, let's say, with my crystals and my candle. And that's the only time. When I don't have tarot with me, no psychic readings, no readings. Like, I'm not allowing anything to come through. And I figured that it took me a while, but I figured it out and it's working. So
good. Stay with whatever works.
Please. Yes, I'm sticking with it.
Now, I'll tell you something. I'm the worst person to read for myself.
Me too.
You know why? Because I want to have the outcome a certain way. That's ego, right?
Exactly.
So I have to rely on others. And I have to tell you, sometimes I'm a hard person to read for.
Are you?
Because I don't want to hear the answer. I'm just, like they're going. Yeah. So
I'm the same. Whenever I do a reading for me, or even, let's say, my husband, I sit there and I'm like, it's blocked. It's blocked because for that exact reason, because you expect something else. And when you don't get what you expect, you like freeze. You just,
well, I get nothing. I get nothing except sometimes like my husband's parents have passed. So I'll go, oh, your mom's in. But I was not looking for her. She came to me. So, that's fine. But I don't go looking for it for, my kids are really funny. They'll go, Mom, I got a name. What do you think? Give me what you got. It's usually the opposite sex, So that is a struggle for me because again, they're my kids. So I always start with what they look like. And if I've got that, then I'm able to get further, but if not, I'll just say, no, sorry, can't do it.
I want to ask you, do your children have your abilities? Both? How many do you have? Do you have two? I said both, so I kind of knew it.
No, you must be psychic or something. Yeah.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, they were the youngest kids going to psychic development class, like when they were early teens. And it wasn't like I wanted them to be that. I wanted them to understand what I was doing. So that's why they were in class. And I remember one of mine went to university and they said to me, am I going to lose this because I can't do both? And I said, no, it'll wait for you. It'll wait for you. Don't worry about it. You do your human thing, go to university, get your degree, which they did. And it's back. Never left them.
No, it never leaves. It's up to you. I mean, I realized that as well. So, but how sweet that they asked you if it's going to leave.
I know, it's not funny. But I have to say it runs in my family on both sides.
On both sides?
Yeah.
Oh,
my mother's parents, my grandparents, used to have trumpet medium seances in their dining room.
Oh, let's talk about that, please.
Okay, and I'll show you what a trumpet is, but I have to leave the screen. She was the medium for one of our prime ministers in Canada.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and they used to go to Lilydale. Lilydale is the largest spiritualist community in the world, and they have mediumship going during the summer. Mm-hmm. So that's my mother's side. My father's side is Irish. And I sort of want to say, need I say more, but that's not fair. And my grandfather, my dad's dad, used to see a psychic weekly, which I do not agree with. You should not be seeing a psychic weekly ever, 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 because they're telling you how to live your life, and that's not right. And we're not counselors. And I tell them 6 months, don't see me for 6 months. Anyway, so that's another story. But when I first started this work, I had a very negative reading from a very well-known psychic who used to work with the police finding children and lost individuals. And I called my father and I said, Dad, this is what's happened. And I just saw your face and I need your help. And he said, I'll take you to my psychic. And I went, my psychic? You have a psychic? He says, yeah. And so he took me to my mentor, Reverend Sadie Nickerson, who was a spiritualist minister, and she trained me for 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like Spirit put me into a family where everything that I was normal, natural. It was only when I went outside of the family, with my friends and stuff like that, I realized, ooh, this is not what everybody does, right?
Yeah.
So I chose a family that accepted it. So I never questioned what I had and who I was. And then my father brought me to Sadie, 20 years of training, 20 years. You know what? I'm going to say this. I hope you keep this in. Spirit loves to play with electronics.
I know.
And I'm going to just say to them right now, cut it out. We're having trouble with sound here all the way through. Please let us have this time. They get so excited. They're like all over it, and then they realize that their energy messes stuff up. It's like we're struggling with this. So back off, people.
Yeah, just stop now. Okay? Done. We're done. We're two of us now. Don't mess with both of us.
But do protect us.
Do protect us, for sure. Yes, please do. I have a live show on Mondays called Mystic Mondays, and it's really funny. I call them Mystic Manic Mondays because every Monday there is a lot of activity, and there are lots of things happening with the with electronics and everything, and everyone's enjoying it. I even had a spirit come through of a little girl one day. It's just every Monday there's something. So that's
well, they have something to look forward to. They know you do it, so it's like, yay, let's go visit her.
I feel them before, I feel the energy changing.
Yeah, they're getting ready.
I know. So I want to talk about the seance, because you said that it was your father. No, it was your mother, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit more?
Okay. So I have to say my mother's greatest complaint was ectoplasm on the dining room chairs. It stains. Now, ectoplasm is our life force, and it's what spirit uses to have the trumpets move around, or to materialize a spirit person, or a voice box, which usually is on the shoulder of the medium, so that you can hear the voice of the spirit world, and it's their voice. You would recognize the voice. It's not the voice of the medium. So so that's and it looks like, I remember Sadie telling me this, it looks like breath on a cold night. And there are pictures, you can look it up. There are pictures where it looks actually like it comes out of, excuse my language, orifices. So ears, nose, mouth, and sometimes you'll see a medium in a picture. Looks like they're fast asleep, totally out of it, and they may have like a piece of ectoplasm coming out of their wherever. And it's just, it's something that happens during seance. Now, with Jenny, who was the medium that my grandmother worked with, she was a trumpet medium. So she would go into trance, and the ectoplasm from her would pick up the trumpet and move it around. Now, if you'll excuse me for a minute, I'll get the trumpet. So I actually bought this trumpet in Lilydale, and it's aluminum. It's got phosphorescent paint, and it actually grows to a large size. So it's quite large, long.
Oh, nice.
And what you do, a medium would, this phosphorescent paint as well. And you do everything in the dark, because ectoplasm is affected by light. And you have to understand that it's the life force of the medium. So if anything happens where a light is turned on, or somebody leaves the room, or somebody touches the medium,
then
they could actually have a heart attack, because the life force then is sent back into the body, and it happens too quickly. So you have to be very careful when you're in these kinds of sessions. Now, I'm not one of these mediums. I have to say that. I'm a mental medium, so I use clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, all the clairs. But this is called physical mediumship. So you would put this on a table and leave it alone, and the medium would go into trance, the physical medium would go into trance. And then what will happen is, when she's in trance or he's in trance, the spirit takes over the body and then starts manipulating. Now, what's really cool is the spirit will talk through the small end, and you'll hear it through this end, and it's their voice. So this is like an amplifier. Yeah. So this is very old-fashioned mediumship. There's not a lot of mediums that do this anymore, because there was so much fraud. Because it's done in the dark. And, the fraudsters were there with the pulleys and wheels and making things move when it's not true. So spirit got smart, and they said, okay, well, we're going to work with people to work with the brain. So it becomes mental mediumship, where you think, mediums are saying things and you think, how do they know that? That kind of stuff. They talk about the spirit people if they're a medium. They talk about the life of the client if they're psychic. So that's how it's evolved because of the fraud.
But there are seances that are happening still. It's not a thing that happened 100 years ago.
Yeah. They are rare. Okay.
But
the true mediums, I would say there's a handful of them. the physical mediums. They're more of us, you and I. There's more of us than there are of them.
For sure. And I think you can find them in spiritualist churches. That's the safest, isn't it? It's not like you can.
They're mostly mental mediums. There are some that are known by spiritualists in spiritualist churches. Yes. Always ask for references. And I have a friend of mine who is a physical medium, and his circles are closed. So it's by invitation only.
I see. Yeah, of course, because you have to protect the circle and yourself as well.
Yes, he's in danger if there's something that goes wrong. So you have to vet everybody that sits in his circle. Yep.
It makes sense. But that is so interesting that you have that in your family and that you've experienced it. You've experienced it yourself, right?
Yes, as a matter
in a circle, I mean.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think in my book here, there's a chapter called The Ectoplasmic Hand. Let me just make sure. And this is one of many seances I sat in, and I actually saw an ectoplasmic hand form. I was asked if I would like it to touch me. So I had my hand on the table, and it touched me, and it was warmer than my own hand, and it actually knocked on the table like it was solid. So yeah, it is phenomenal work.
Wow.
Very rare, very rare. I feel so lucky. I mean, if I didn't see it myself, it would be very hard for me to believe it. But
I'm getting goosebumps, Carolyn. I'm getting goosebumps. As you're talking, I feel like my whole body's going cold right now. It's
confirmation.
Exactly. That's my confirmation, is the goosebumps. Always.
Yes. Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, what was the energy like in there? Because, I don't think any one of us is going to experience this. So it would be nice to know, how did the energy change in the room before it manifested itself?
I didn't find much of a change, except I'll tell you how it's set up. It was a large group the first time I met this gentleman. There were 80 people. He doesn't do these anymore, so don't go looking for it. And it was male, female, all the way around as much as they could, because the male energy would counterbalance the female and vice versa. So that energetically was important. They had to have a table with a red light. That's the only light that ectoplasm can work with, that it doesn't get damaged or, disappear, or whatever it would do if it was unhappy. And it's the circle always started with the same music. Like you and I were talking about, I light a candle, I wear my necklace. That's my way of spirit knowing I'm ready to work. With them, it was a certain taped music. And then it started. I mean, you heard drumsticks going, rattles. What else? You saw there were 2 trumpets. They were flying around the room. I had healing with one of the spirit people that's part of the team. He was a doctor, went on the earth plane, and I had glasses on, and this is in pitch dark, and he put his hands on me without kind of fumbling around. He knew exactly where to put his hands, and it was just incredible. So yeah, that's a rare form of mediumship.
It's incredible that you've had that experience. Incredible. I'm
so lucky.
I'd be too frightened to do it, to be honest. If I was there, I don't know, but I'd be a little bit frightened, maybe.
Well, let me say this. I trusted the medium and his circle. They'd been doing this for over 40 years. So they knew what was going on. I felt good about being in their hands. And I did meet the medium ahead of time. And he's just a gentleman, just a very kind man. And I thought, all the energy's right here. And I'm here for a reason. I mean, I had to go overseas to see him. He's not in Canada.
Oh, I see.
So a lot of things were set up in order for me to do this.
Definitely worth it. And once one in a lifetime experience, that's for sure. But since we're talking about seances, I just want to talk about the Ouija board a little bit, because this
No,
is sort of
thank you. I'm not touching that thing. No,
no, that's what I
no,
mean. I want
never.
everyone to hear from you why it's not a game, why they should stay away from it, because unfortunately the younger ones, the younger generation, think that the Ouija board is a game. They think that conjuring these like negative energies is fun. I would love for people to hear your perspective as well, which we all know what it is. And why you shouldn't be playing with it.
Well, first of all, it's manufactured as a game. It's mass produced.
True.
I know of some people that have spirit boards that have created them themselves, and the intention is to reach spirit in a loving, kind, and non-playful way.
Right.
Ouija boards are like portals, and when you open up the portal, the powers that can come through are so negative and strong that they can either overpower you, take over your life. You become, haunted by these energies. It's really not good, and just stay away from it. Any student that I find out has worked with the spirit board, I will ask them to leave the class. The Ouija board. I will ask them to leave the class because I feel that their influence could be negative and more than I can manage. So I have a story, and I don't know whether, well, I'll just give it to you. There are two young people that set up a Ouija board in the kitchen, and they were working it, and they were getting all kinds of information, and the thing was moving and giving and it started doing weird things like spelling out demon and hateful things and all that. And they just totally freaked out, took the thing, took it outside, threw it in the garbage can, shut the lid, came back into the house, locked the doors, and went upstairs and went to bed. Next morning, the Ouija board's on the kitchen table.
I was going to say, they thought that was it. No.
Well, here's the thing. It's television worthy. It entertains, but nobody sees what happens after. When the television set or the lights go off, there's been some pretty creepy, awful stuff that happens to those who dabble in, well, it's the dark arts.
Exactly.
And I just will not have, I absolutely will not have anything to do with it.
No, me neither. No, I don't even want to say it. I mean, I said it now because it's a topic, and I want people to hear that this is not a game. You're playing with exactly. And I should reread that book. Actually, it's a very good point. Yeah, I should go back to it.
You should put it under your pillow. You'll. I remember my mentor saying, if you want to learn something, do it through osmosis.
My grandmother used to say that as well. She's like, if you want to learn something, play, like record it on a tape and play it while you're asleep, or put it under your pillow, because you absorb more when you're in that sort of subconscious state.
Also understand there's energy in this book, right?
True, absolutely. That's a good idea.
There's energy in this book too.
Let's get to it now, actually, because a lot of these things, what we're talking about now, are in your book, in your latest book. Yeah. And you talk about all these, but you go a lot more in depth, because your first book, Compassionate Messenger, what was it was more about stories, right? Like stories and experiences as a psychic medium, and how spirit approached you, and they want to deliver messages. But this book, the latest book, it's about all these topics that we're talking about now, that you also talk about on your YouTube channel.
Yes.
Because I would also like to just tell everyone that Carolyn has a YouTube channel, and she posts very regularly short, bite-sized videos. So they're very easy to follow. They're not very long, unlike mine, who are super long. And she talks about everything that we're talking about now, and just explaining about, the afterlife, and how do you communicate with your angels or your spirit guides? How do you know if your spirit guide is next to you? What are soul contracts, reincarnation, etc., right? So do you want to tell us a little bit about your book?
Sure. Well, I feel it's like the second stage to the first. I am a teacher and I can't help myself. So there's a lot of teaching points in the book. The first half is about me. And the second half is, how the first half is like how I got here, my family and all this stuff. And the second half is about, mediumship, what it's about, what to watch for with, messages, psychic scams, this kind of thing. Just a lot of talking points, just to kind of get people up to speed about this work.
Mhm.
Yeah, mediumship masses, for the masses, public message work. I just opened up to that. So there's a
That's
lot of interesting stuff going on. I have to say, my husband wrote it. So I gave him some ideas and he went to town. He's a medium as well. So he understands the work. And because we live together, he understands what I'm going through day to day.
and he's a
So
journalist, right, as well.
yes, he is. Yeah. And
Very
yeah, so he made me put this picture on the back. See that one? Oops.
Oh, how cute.
That's
How
me
cute.
when I think I was 3 or 4.
How cute.
Part 1 is, let's see, who I am. There's part 1. And then part 2, which is very much delineated, is, where are you now? Of course, I can't find it. Oh, there's Sadie. Oh, I talk about Sadie too, so you'll know
Oh, interesting.
about her. And
I'm reading. I'm ordering it.
oh, thank you.
Of course. Yeah, I love, first of all, I love reading books, and
Oh,
especially from spiritual teachers like yourself. There's so
well,
much to learn.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it's also ebook as well, so you
Oh,
don't have
I
to get
prefer books. I prefer
I like to touch them. Yeah.
I like to touch it, smell it,
Mhm.
have it, like access it whenever I want to look back on something. That's my thing.
Well, I promise you, they're not old books, so they don't smell.
No, they're not all, but they smell the smell of paper and
Yes.
ink. Oh
Yeah.
my,
Yeah.
oh my.
Yeah.
Really quickly, because I know we don't have that much time, but I want to ask you something that maybe you've been asked before. I don't know. What's the most profound message a spirit has given you?
There have been so many. After 40 years, I still have those moments of, is this real? Because you can't touch it. It's all cerebral. And I think their most profound message to me is, yes, it is. This is real. This work, mediumship,
Oh,
psychic work, it's real. So, yeah, that's the most
that's
profound.
very good to know, because there are even psychics, sometimes they have bad days and good days, right? We all have bad days. And on the bad days, like at least from my side, me, sometimes I don't doubt myself when I do readings. Very confident about all the messages that come through, even if the client doubts what I'm saying. I always say, wait and see. Don't run ahead of yourself. Wait and see. Come back to me in 3 months and tell me. But it's not during readings or after readings. It's usually sometimes when you wake up in the morning and you're like,
Anticipating.
yes.
Yeah. I also learned something else as well. The client has a lot to do with how good the reading will be. For several reasons. One is, do the personalities between psychic / medium and client mesh? Is there an openness and an exchange of energy, or are they closed and prove it to me? Spirit hates that, and they have nothing to do with it. Also, too, if this is a new experience or newer experience for someone, or they just lost someone, the message is much more gentle and not so hard hitting and evidential, because it's what is managed at this time.
Wow.
So there are many reasons why there are some people that it's just like, bam, you've got it, evidential. Your eyes are bugging out of your head because of the things you're saying. And other times it's so gentle and quiet and you think, what has happened here? And what Spirit tells me is that's what they can manage.
True.
Right? So when you look at your work and you stay consistent, the only thing that is not consistent are your clients and their energy.
You're so right. It has to do with how open, close they are, their energy, what do they bring in at the time of the reading. There's a lot of factors, absolutely. But I even with a difficult client, I never waver. I'm always like, whatever I see, whatever message comes through, even if I have to sweat bullets to get that message, because there are times when you need a long time to get those messages through.
Well, it's because of Spirit. We are held to our message by what Spirit says, not what we think. And if Spirit doesn't want to answer the question, they're not going to. They're not going to. If it's not in the best interest of the person, your client, no.
But before we could get to your workshops, really quickly, have you ever felt that, you've had a client and the spirit refused to come through? You could see the spirit,
I've had that, yes.
But they refused to come forward.
Okay, so let me just give you and I don't mind telling you this story. There was a gentleman that came to see me because he wanted to hear from his mother. And his wife was waiting in the waiting room. So I got his mother-in-law, his godmother, grandmother, a mother like a mother to him, no mother. And I could tell he was angry. And I came out, he just kind of left. And I talked to the wife and I said, this is what happened. And she said, I'm not surprised because she hated him. She hated him. So people think that it's all harps and angels over there. It's not. They take their mind, their memory, their soul, their personality home with them. And what they were here, they're most likely there as well. So if they didn't like you, they're not coming. The other time they don't come is if they've been sick. So something like cancer or ALS or Parkinson's, that, a long, drawn out kind of illness brings our energy down. So Sadie told me that they actually go to convalesce over there and they're not as available. They may come in and say hello and then leave because that's all they can do. I'll give you another story if you're all right with that. I'm full of stories, aren't I? So there was a gentleman that came in and he wanted to hear from his girlfriend who had just passed away. She was 32 years old. You think, wow, energy, she'd have energy, but she didn't. She was a juvenile diabetic. She said, nuts to the diabetes. I'm going to live my life. I'm going to smoke. I'm going to drink. I'm going to party. I'm going to have fun. And she died at age 32.
Wow.
Yeah. He was devastated. I could not get her. I pulled teeth to try to get her. Nothing. I said, look, I will read other people for you, which I did. And it was not a problem. But I said, if you would like to come back in 3 months, we can try again. He did. She was bouncing off the walls. She was crazy nuts like she was when she was here, full of evidence about herself, their relationship, code words, which I don't get very often. What happened was she was so ill, she could not come in. Energetically, she was not there at that first time. But she'd had that amount of time, 3 months or whatever it was, to convalesce and get back to, her old energy. So that was a huge eye opener for me. I realized, you know what? I'm not in control of this. My job is to show up and the rest is up to Spirit, right? And what they do, it's their show. I just speak for them. And,
Absolutely.
And people say, oh, Carolyn, this was, when you said this, I say, I don't say this. They say it. I tell you. I give credit where credit's due. It's not, I'm an intermediary. That's all I am.
We're conduits. We're not, it's not coming out of our mouth. It's coming from the other side. That's what I keep saying.
And they think that we know.
Yes, I know.
Our clients think that we know everything about them, and the answer is no, we don't, unless spirit tells us.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your workshops? So what do you do in your workshops? Who is it for? Do you do them virtually?
Yes, I do them virtually. I used to have a circle, and I really didn't think that working online was going to work, and it does. And of course, I've been reminded by spirit saying, you know what, we transcend time and space. So you don't need to worry about being on a computer versus being in person. It's all the same.
Right.
So I have small classes where we do psychic development, which means, you know, we learn about the lifestyle. We learn about meditation. We learn about prayer. We do message work, all in a loving, gentle place. The classes are closed. So the energy of the circle is kept for the amount of time that we are together. That's one. And the psychic development is about working with your spirit guides, because it's really, really important to work with those who are working with you, working with you in your regular life, and those who are willing to work with you with your psychic work. They're all love and light.
Very interesting.
They're very deeply for you. It's a beautiful experience. Once that is experienced, and I'll explain why in a minute, then mediumship comes into play. Now, not all spirit people are nice. Okay. They're not nice people, some of them. I've had people come in who were abusers, who wanted to come in and talk to my client to ask for forgiveness. And then I see how my client reacts to this. And, you know, it's not love and light. Let me just say that. You have to get ready and used to working with the spirit world to get into mediumship. Case in point, I had a student whom I think is well suited to mediumship. She's not ready, but one of the other student's son who passed away came to her.
Oh,
she got over. Her. Yeah, he picked her. She got totally overwhelmed, couldn't deliver the message, you know, overwhelmed emotionally, like, oh my God, this is her son. Oh no. And of course, I teach students how to not to get into the heart area. They have to do something else to get rid of the emotions so they can deliver, right? So that's why I say psychic development first, mediumship second.
I mean, what's the time frame with your workshops?
Okay, so mine are long. This commitment is important because you need time to develop. You also need the in-between time of classes to experience what's happened and then come back to class and talk about it. So my classes, they start February 24th and they go to mid-May. So it's every other Wednesday for that amount of months.
So every other Wednesday, and it's a live session. So they're not pre-recorded.
No, and I don't record my sessions because there's a lot of private things that go on with the class that I do not want to share with others.
Yeah.
So it's a very intimate experience, and I try to love them all the way through and support them as best I can. I have students now that have graduated, although I don't believe in that. You know, I have an all levels class because the new ones learn from the ones that have been doing it, and vice versa. The ones that have been doing it recognize what it was like when they started. So it's a great mix. There are some people say, I want intermediate, and I go, don't have that. It's either one or the other, and we learn from each other.
I like that. I really like it.
You're right. My mediumship class is some of them have been up to 10 years that we've been meeting, and it's now getting really hard because I'm getting to a point where I'm at my ceiling. I can't get it. I can't put anybody else in. Otherwise, we're there all night. Messages. I know. So I'm going to have to rethink how I'm going to do a mediumship class that is newer. I won't say intermediate. No, newer people. So that, because my old guys, they love each other. They want to work together, and they always seem to have messages for each other, which is great.
Nice.
And I don't want to break up that energy. They're like my family, you know, otherwise it's like,
yeah, true.
You know,
You need to get on with it. You need to get on with it. That's for sure. I will, for everyone who's interested, I will post everything down below in the description box. Carolyn's website, where you can get her books, her workshops, everything is going to be down below, and you can reach out to her. You were lovely with me as well. You replied within 1 day of my email. I'm so excited, and I love that.
Always make time for people who want to learn. Always.
That's so
thank you for getting in touch with me.
Thank you so much for doing this. I hope you'll come back maybe in the future. We can, there's so many, I have so much to talk to you about.
Absolutely. Yep. You know my email.
Yes, I would love that. And I would love to keep in touch with you. And, you know, you never know in the future. As I said, the future is open. It's bright. Allow for things to happen. And then definitely I will allow for things to happen.
I'm hearing from Spirit that if you want me to guest at one of your circles, if you do this kind of thing, I'd be happy to help you out, but only if it's what you want. Okay. I'm not pushing myself on you. I'm just
love that. I would love that. So we will, did you hear that, everyone? She's going to be coming on Mystic Monday. Love it. Thank you so much, Carolyn, for being here today. Thank you for this. And we will just, after this video, we will just get out our calendars and see when you're free, because I would love to have you on Mystic Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.